The minimum wage is one of the most debated economic policies, praised by some as a necessary protection for low-income workers and criticized by others as a potential job killer. It's a policy that cuts across political, economic, and social lines, with significant implications for workers, businesses, and the broader economy. But why is the minimum wage such a contentious issue? To understand this, we need to explore both the benefits and the drawbacks of setting a legal floor for wages. At its core, the minimum wage is designed to ensure that workers receive a basic level of income for their labor, providing them with the means to afford necessities like housing, food, and healthcare. For many low-income workers, particularly those in industries like retail, food service, and hospitality, the minimum wage is a crucial lifeline. Without it, there's a risk that these workers could be paid less than what is needed to survive, especially in regions with high costs of living. Supporters of the minimum wage argue that it plays a vital role in reducing poverty and income inequality. By setting a wage floor, the government ensures that even the lowest paid workers receive a wage that reflects the minimum standard of living. In many cases, minimum wage increases have been shown to lift people out of poverty, reduce reliance on social welfare programs, and increase consumer spending. When workers have more money in their pockets, they tend to spend it, which can stimulate the economy and create a virtuous cycle of growth. However, the positive impact of the minimum wage is not without its limitations. Critics argue that while the minimum wage may help some workers, it can also lead to unintended consequences that harm the very people it's meant to protect. One of the main arguments against the minimum wage is that it can lead to job losses, particularly among low-skilled workers. When businesses are forced to pay higher wages, they may respond by reducing their workforce, cutting hours, or automating jobs that were previously done by humans. This can disproportionately affect younger, less experienced workers who are often the most vulnerable in the labor market. In addition to potential job losses, the minimum wage can also create a barrier to entry for small businesses and startups. For businesses with thin profit margins, especially in competitive industries, a higher minimum wage can increase operational costs to the point where they can no longer sustain their workforce. This can lead to businesses closing their doors or relocating to areas with lower wage requirements, ultimately reducing job opportunities in the community. The impact of the minimum wage also varies significantly depending on the region. In areas with a high cost of living, like major cities, the minimum wage may not be sufficient to cover basic expenses, even after multiple increases. Conversely, in regions with a lower cost of living, a high minimum wage could have a more pronounced negative effect on businesses and employment. This regional disparity is one reason why some economists advocate for a more localized approach to the minimum wage, where states or municipalities set their own wage floors based on local economic conditions. Another critical aspect of the minimum wage debate is its impact on inflation. When wages are increased, businesses often pass on the higher costs to consumers in the form of higher prices. This can lead to a cycle where the purchasing power of the minimum wage is eroded over time, necessitating further increases to keep up with inflation. In extreme cases, this can contribute to a wage price spiral, where wages and prices continuously push each other higher, leading to broader economic instability. Moreover, the minimum wage is sometimes criticized for being a blunt instrument that doesn't address the root causes of poverty and inequality. While it provides a safety net for low-wage workers, it doesn't tackle underlying issues such as education, skills training, and access to better-paying jobs. Some critics argue that more targeted policies, like expanding the Earned Income Tax Credit, EITC, or providing subsidies for childcare and healthcare, could be more effective in addressing these issues without the potential downsides of a minimum wage increase. Despite these criticisms, the minimum wage remains a popular policy among many workers and policymakers. Surveys often show strong public support for increasing the minimum wage, with many people viewing it as a matter of fairness and social justice. For workers earning at or near the minimum wage, an increase can make a significant difference in their quality of life, allowing them to better support their families and reduce financial stress. In practice, the effects of the minimum wage are complex and can vary depending on the specific context in which it's implemented. Some studies have found that moderate increases in the minimum wage have little to no negative impact on employment, while others suggest that more significant hikes can lead to job losses, particularly in low-wage industries. The overall impact of the minimum wage is likely influenced by factors such as the strength of the economy, the availability of jobs, and the level of support services available to workers. Ultimately, the debate over the minimum wage reflects broader questions about the role of government in regulating the economy, the balance between market forces and social protections, and the best ways to ensure that all workers can earn a decent living. While there's no one-size-fits-all answer, the minimum wage will likely continue to be a key tool in the ongoing effort to improve the lives of low-income workers, even as the debate over its pros and cons rages on. So, ultimately, the minimum wage is both good and bad depending on one's perspective and the specific circumstances in which it's applied. It can lift people out of poverty, reduce income inequality, and stimulate economic growth by increasing consumer spending. However, it can also lead to job losses, particularly for low-skilled workers, and create challenges for small businesses and regions with varying costs of living. The key to maximizing the benefits of the minimum wage while minimizing its drawbacks may lie in finding a balanced approach that takes into account the diverse needs of workers, businesses, and communities across the country.